It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Welcome in at Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White is here as well. You'll hear from her in a second with a very important message. But Alex, we're on the cusp of two sweeps in the NBA and the NHL final.
Over 30 years since we've had this 3-0 in both sports, 1996. So
96.
Or almost 30, yeah.
All right, that's 28 years. Still a long time out.
Very good. Quick math, Jeff. But I couldn't believe it when I looked that up. And 1998, last time that for NHL. So not the most exciting NBA and NHL for us. Looking forward to other things coming up. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. But first, Alex, we, as always, Fridays on this show, a very important message as always for our listeners here on a Friday.
That's right. This show is brought to you by footballcontest.com. If you've ever wanted to enter the biggest and best football contest in Las Vegas, but you don't know where to start or who to trust, go to footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed, including breakdowns of the most popular and highest paying football contests in the world, such as Westgate Super Contest, Circa Sports Million, and Circa Survivor. Plus, you can find out how you can reserve the most trusted proxy in the business. Footballcontest.com has Maddie and Tony, who have been leading the way for over a decade with more than $10 million in winners during that time frame. All you need to do is find a way to get to Vegas sometime this summer to sign up for these football contests in person, and then let Maddie and Tony do the rest. They will submit your picks for you and help you focus on what you do best, picking winners. Don't miss out on the action this upcoming football season. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com. That is footballcontest.com.
A little later in the show, of an update on how many entries are already in the contest over at Circa from Vegas. Maddie, who was there on site earlier in the week, giving the update as always. By the way, Alex, I just got to throw this out there, because 1995 was actually the last time we had two sweeps.
Very good.
95, it was the 6-seeded Houston Rockets winning their second consecutive title with Hakeem Olajuwon. They swept Shaquille O'Neal and the Orlando Magic in 1995. And then one of the biggest upsets in Stanley Cup final history actually happened that year. But not only did the New Jersey Devils win their first Stanley Cup, they swept out a powerhouse Red Wing team that year in that sweep. And that's the last time we had it. A little bit different than this go-around where it's chalk and chalk. It was two dogs in those two finals.
A lot different, right? So I bet, Jeff, I mean, you did say we had our parlays for the winners. You said you liked that chalk with the Celtics and the Panthers.
Yeah, I got scared off for reasons that I won't admit on the air. Let's just go with that, Alex, for why I did not end up playing that. But Sean, you can swoosh it across the screen because we got to get to today's starting five. Don't worry, we'll have plenty of talk of the Panthers win in Game 3 in less than 5 minutes from now, actually. So stay tuned for that, because number one, looking to close it out tonight in Big D are the Boston Celtics, who have not lost in over a month. 10 straight here in this postseason, looking to end the postseason at 16-2. It's a pick tonight. 211.5 on the total, the lowest total in this NBA final by a solid 3 points, Alex.
Shop around depending on what you like, because books have different numbers here. I know it's just a point, but some books do have the Mavs as a 1-point favorite. Some have Boston, and a couple picks out there. So we'll break that down and get into what we like tonight in Game 4. Number 2, great MLB card, a lot of really good pitchers. I'm looking at Ranger Suarez, though, getting the start for the Phillies. Kyle Bradish has been very good for the Orioles. He will start this series off. Suarez has the most wins in the league and the second best ERA, but Bradish, in his 34 innings pitched, 2.62 ERA with 49 strikeouts.
Great I-95 matchup there, with the Phillies somehow losing 2 out of 3 in Boston as well, trying to get back right after that London trip. By the way, even more important baseball news, though, the Mets have not lost since scrimmage throughout the first pitch. So they may never lose again, Alex White.
Did you, Frank, show that on Punchlines at all?
No, he did not.
No, we haven't.
We did not get to that. If the Mets don't lose this weekend, we might have to mention it next week. Number 3, U.S. Open, course playing significantly tougher today at Pinehurst. Patrick Cantlay hasn't teed off. He's still your leader at 5 under, but he is not your betting favorite. That's Rory McIlroy, who is at 4 under right now, a 1 over so far on the round. He's your betting favorite. DeChambeau at 5-1. Iberg at plus 550. Cantley, again, it's high 65-1 pre-tournament, plus 750 right now to win it. Also of note, I didn't even see what the price was because I didn't even look at it. Scotty Scheffler is having some issues here. He's tied for 92nd. He's 5 over, I should say, for the tournament. And the real possibility Scheffler misses the cut here, Alex.
Wild turn of events when we're all talking about the greatest golfer in the world, and no price is too low, but should be interesting going all the way to Sunday. Number 4, 2 games on board in the WNBA. Remember, there's no more Commissioner Cup games. We have that set. But tonight, the LA Sparks in Minnesota take on the Lynx, and the Chicago Sky in Washington to take on the Mystics. Now, the Mystics have only won 1 game this year, but still, what has me a little questionable is the Sky are a 2.5-point favorite on the road here against the Mystics. So we'll get into that.
Washington finally won a game.
That's right.
And it just get the proverbial monkey off the back and hey, maybe you rack together a few wins here if you're Washington. Number 5, we go across to Europe. Euro 2024 gets underway today. The Germans, the hosts, will take on Scotland. That's a 3:00 Eastern game, noon out here on the West Coast. That's 9, or I think it's 9 o'clock over in Munich, maybe 10. I see my time zones are a little rusty here, Alex. Germany behind us. And again, there are a lot of ways to bet soccer. Behind us, they have the goal line and the total. Germany, you're laying a goal and a half here today. Total 2.5. Germany on those 3 lines that are out there, about a $4 favorite from what I saw. And Alex, we have a 6th man here today as well on the starting 5.
Yes, we do, because the College World Series begin in NCAA baseball today. We've got a couple games on the board, so we'll get into that, and if we have any plays as well.
The SEC ACC Invitational in Omaha.
Exactly right.
Only 2 conferences represented in Omaha this year. Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida State, Tennessee, your 2 matchups here for today. That is the left side of the bracket with top seed Vols in action later today against a pretty game Florida State team. We'll go into those games a little bit later as it gets rolling in Middle America. Be also intriguing to see that bar right by the ballpark. Who wins the Jell-O shot competition? LSU's not there, so there will more likely than not be a new champion this year.
Do you have odds for that for us?
When Tennessee and A&M are involved in anything like this, it's hard to look against them. Florida, the 2. I mean, this is honestly, NC State's underrated too. There are a lot of great options. All I feel confident is Virginia's going to finish last.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I feel pretty confident on, Alex.
That's fair. I'll take that.
And that's our starting 5 plus 6 man here today here on Sports by the Book. And Alex, let's get into it here today. Also, Dwayne Colucci will join us in 20 minutes from now in his usual Friday slot. That's no one said anything, so maybe it's not even valid that Dwayne will be here today. See, there you go. Look at Ryan. Ryan in here as I finished the sentence, and Ryan gets it done. All right, to the ice real quick, because Alex, we might be done with everything. We might be done with the NBA and the NHL by tomorrow before midnight on the East Coast. We might be done because the Florida Panthers, thanks to a brilliant second period,
yep,
to Edmonton's credit, they got it back to 4-3, nearly climbed the mountain completely, but not enough. Two pretty bad goals mixed in there, and those 3 for Florida in that second period as well. But in the end, the Panthers, who we got to give credit to Lou Finicaro, who was all over it in the month of January, are a win away from their first Stanley Cup championship. And Alex, the number has drastically changed for game number 3, where Edmonton went off as $1.40. Now they're minus 120 for game 4 tomorrow with a total of 5.5, which kind of the same pattern was minus 115 for the under. Now it's minus 120 here for game number 4.
As you mentioned, have to give Lou credit, and he put a lot into his handicap about Florida being there last year, losing in 5 games to Las Vegas, and how hungry they would be going back again this year. So experience really does matter. I thought this series would at least go to 6, maybe 7 games. I thought it had the potential to go the distance. It's not looking like it. Edmonton is really struggling. They are 0-10 on the power play. They cannot figure out their penalty kill, and that has been one of their biggest advantages throughout this playoffs. They had enough shots, 35 shots on goal last night, but Bobrovsky, great again, 32 saves, and they had their 3 power play opportunities. So I don't have a breakdown yet. I did get there with the over yesterday.
Yes, you did.
But other than that, sidewise, I mean, looking at both of our series, I think I give the Mavs a better chance tonight to force a Game 5 than I do Edmonton.
By the way, if you're interested in the series price, and we'll have a full breakdown tomorrow because this game's tomorrow night on the show tomorrow morning. We're, of course, back at 9. Florida's minus 2,000 behind us, 10-1 on Edmonton to pull off history. Only has happened one time in Stanley Cup final history where a team went down 3-0, came back and won the cup. That was all the way back in the 1940s, Alex White, when the Toronto Maple Leafs of all franchises did it to Detroit.
Of all franchises.
So there you go. It's again, I'm a little annoyed at myself. I didn't take that parlay that Chris offered of just taking the 2 favorites because this has been as rocking chair as you possibly could have gotten for these 2 finals so far.
I will give you credit. When he brought that in, you immediately went to what are the Celtics and the Panthers? I know it's chalky, but what's that number?
Yeah, and it's been I will say it's been a disappointing finals round. Unlike those 95 ones, and again, I can't say I was too young at that point, but at least game 1 of that 95 NBA finals had the Nick Anderson choke job in it, which missing 4 free throws in the last 14 seconds, Houston forced overtime. At least that's had some interest, and the Devils were a monster upset. So at least that was a little more interesting than what we've seen in both of these series. But credit to Florida.
Yes.
Because, look, that last series against the Rangers was not an easy series. And Florida has just vaporized Edmonton for the most part in this series. I know you could argue, Edmonton probably should have won game 1. They had a shot last night. But Florida's been the clear right side this whole series.
And it is disappointing because I feel like we've had pretty good playoff runs getting to this point. I mean, we had a lot of overtime games in hockey, and then we had a couple series go to 7 in the NBA. The Knicks and Pacers was a fun series, and a couple others there. And then now here for the finals to have this.
A little fizzle out here in the NBA side. And, we'll bring it up right now because tonight could be the end of the NBA season on June 14th as the Dallas Mavericks try to stave off elimination. As we know, Alex, we know that a team has never come back from 0-3 in an NBA playoff best of 7. As we just continue to update the number, it's 0-156. Dallas will try to become 1-156. Boston, more likely than not, will make it 0-157 for a team in a 3-0 hole. I'm still fascinated by the way this game has been bet. I really am. Because this market's all over the joint right now. Behind us, it's pick with 211.5. The 211.5 is consistent. But I see on my screen right now, one book with Dallas 1, one book with Boston 1, one book with Dallas 1 with juice on Boston. Okay, do whatever you want on that one. If you want to bet that, be my guest. Wouldn't do that. And then I see one at Boston minus 1.5. So this is all over the place here on the spread for this game, Alex, which is really, really fascinating for how the series has played out, especially how Game 3 ended up getting bet, and obviously Boston won and covered all numbers.
I mean, a lot of opinions, right? You can go either way. Series is done. The Celtics are the better team. They're going to finish it tonight and sweep. Or you can go the flip side. It is so hard for a team to get that 4th win because backs are against the wall. This is Dallas's last game. They're going to do everything in their power to stay alive. I would just say save your money and don't bet on that series price for them to make history here.
Okay. Well, yes, that should go without saying. Dallas is about 18-1, 20-1, depending on the book. Don't bet that. I agree for sure. But Alex, you yesterday when we talked about this for a few moments, you seemed like you were ready to go ahead, take Dallas. All right, they're going to get one. Luka's gotten just annihilated in the media the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
We have seen a little more in the recent past that teams normally in the NBA, like we're going back 5-10 years, Get in the 3-hole, forget it. It's an automatic sweep. We have started to see teams take game 4, at least send the series back to the other city, and then it just extends out to a gentleman's sweep. But are you still leaning the way that you were yesterday, where you like Dallas here? Go search, maybe get that 1.5 that's out in the market right now on the Mavs?
Very much so.
Okay.
If I'm going to bet this game, it will be on Dallas, and I'm going to wait and see. I'm debating. I like the first quarter because I think they are going to come out really strong, and I do like them in the game too. And we just saw it with Minnesota, right? A lot of pride goes into this game as well. You don't want to be that team that got swept. I've seen improvements from the Mavs from each game. I mean, game 2, they had a ton of turnovers, 15 turnovers. And then they really improved that in game 3. Boston had 9, Dallas had 8. So there's little things that they have made adjustments for. And I mean, they came out hot in game 3 and then just kind of let the foot off the gas there. And as I said yesterday, I think they need to really utilize Kyrie. He was having a great game back at home, away from the Boston fans. And his points right now, 24.5. I like that over as well. So, yeah, I'm definitely leaning to the home team here in Dallas and to push this to game 5.
You know, it's interesting just looking through quarter lines. Dallas favored in the first quarter right now. First half, Dallas also favored as well. There are some picks out there as well lined up, including here, lined up with that. You know, the way that I would look to play this, and I'm just, the way this series has gone, Dallas's team total still sitting at the 105.5, 105 range. I don't think there's been anything in this series that would dictate Dallas going over that. So far in this series, Dallas has scored 89 points, 98 points, 99 points. Forget 105. They haven't gotten over 100 yet in this series. And, you know, this is lower than what it was in the other games because the overall total is lower, Alex. But I would look to the Dallas team total under. Now, if you like Dallas, you're probably not agreeing with me on that.
No, I actually
you would like the full game.
I
and
would
the
not
Dallas team
bet
total.
that. I would definitely not bet that over.
Okay.
So if you were going to play the team total, I would only look at the under. You just mentioned it. The Dallas hasn't hit 100, and Boston, in their 17 games in the postseason, they've held their teams to an average of 100 points. So that 105, I think, is a little high there. But if I like Dallas in this game, I would look at the other side and look at Celtics under 106. Maybe they can really crank up their defense and hold them under that 106 to get the win.
You take out the Indiana series where that was played at a different pace. That was played at a much faster pace than anything else, where Indiana got over 100 in all 4 of those games. There has only been 2 games that the opponent has put 100 on Boston, and those, of course, were the 2 losses, where both Cleveland and Miami shot way above marks in three-point shooting in those games. So, I would look to team total under for Dallas. I also think the game is fine under still, even at the lowest number we've seen in this series, Alex.
I do too. I really do. I mean, the pace has been slow, and we've seen it a little bit faster, higher scoring in the beginning, but by the end, yeah, we're struggling to get to that 200 mark.
You know, it really has been a disappointing series all the way around. It just, for Boston, and we've talked about it all time long, it just has been a year where, I don't want to say hiding in plain sight, because they were the betting favorites to win the finals very early in this series. They were the number 1 power-rated team by a reasonable margin most of the year as well. But 16-2 through the postseason, 80 total wins. That's an all-time dominant season from the Celtics if they close this out for banner number 18 tonight. I'm not betting the side. I'm just going totals exclusively tonight. But if you said, Jeff, you have to bet this game on the side tonight, I do think Boston closes it out. But I'd much rather have those Dallas team total unders and the under for the game than anything on the side.
I did forget about that angle. So Boston is kind of playing for that. Did you see Jason Tatum's one of his quotes? Because they told him about that and asked him if that was a big deal for him. And he responded with, well, you guys will just say we haven't played anyone. So we're going to have to do it again next year.
You know, it is It
You want
is
me to repeat that for you?
it's okay. It's just also too anything with Tatum at this point because he's
But that's exactly what everybody has been saying.
Right,
They
but
haven't played anyone,
he's
so I thought it was funny.
he's turned into this polarizing figure anyway.
Oh, I don't think it was that polarizing. But
No, I'm saying Tatum himself has within NBA circles. Like, he's clearly one of the 12 best players in the league. It has seemed like there's been this push from the league to put him in the forefront when he hasn't necessarily deserved it at times.
Yes,
Now
that's
look,
true.
he's going to be the best player in an NBA championship team. Even though, again, you and I are in agreement, Jaylen Brown's going to win MVP, barring something surprising tonight
Yes.
here in this series. In studio, we're matching on our
logos,
on our
anyway,
logos,
yeah.
Chris. I didn't know if I was wearing blue or black for a second there.
I pulled the blue out of the closet. Okay,
It's a good looking shirt.
I like his shirt.
It's
yeah.
a good looking shirt. Chris Andrews is here this morning, as always. And whenever you have the sticky note in front of you, you know there's something good on there.
Well, a lot of baseball action. I don't know. We wound up this one guy who I really didn't know anything about for about the last maybe month has been showing up. And, he's like anybody else, wins and loses. But the last couple of days, he's won. But he sends it all back in. And he bets mostly dogs. So a lot of times by the end of the day, I'm rooting for this guy to win. Anyway, I wrote down the 4 biggest moves. Now these aren't all him. With the biggest move, and these are on the dogs. Cardinals went from plus 116 to plus 107.
Cardinals at Cubs. That's the early game at Wrigley Field today.
Yeah. Red Sox went from plus 152 to plus 128.
They market going against Luis Gil in that one,
Yeah.
who's been awesome for the Yankees. The first matchup of the year for the Yankees and the Red Sox this
Is
year.
that right? Wow. No
Late,
kidding.
isn't it?
Yeah, jeez. I thought they played every week.
Sure seemed that way at one point.
Texas went from plus 140 to plus 121.
That is Andrew Heaney against Luis Castillo, who got scratched naturally last night, Alex, when we brought it up. And that,
I know.
And in retrospect,
What
Chris,
was it 3-2 final?
in retrospect, that was probably a tell that the market was telling us that there was a real shot Castillo wasn't going to make the start.
Right. We don't use listed pitchers, and
Right.
a lot of people in the industry have kind of gone that way. I agree with it because mostly, a starting pitcher, you get 5-6 innings out of them. That's how's that a quality start? I mean, I'm back in the 60s and I'm thinking of Gibson and Carlton and Koufax and Nolan Ryan. What did Nolan Ryan have one game? 230 pitches or something like that. Anyway, I'm that old school. But regardless, the no listed pitchers, and the price doesn't change. A lot of the wise guys, it kind of works in their favor. It certainly did yesterday. Now we had a lot of money the other way. It wasn't a bad game at all, but that can be an advantage to certain players if they have the pitching change before we do. So anyway, one more change I wanted to give you: Kansas City from plus 150 to plus 132. And I don't have the numbers, but what if you've been betting Kansas City every game this year?
Well, I know you'd be up.
I think it'd be up pretty gosh
even though
darn good.
this was a pretty rough week for them, even though they got a
I understand. Yeah.
very important win for their psyche yesterday, walking off the Yankees.
That was big for us,
Huge.
too, by the way.
Oh, the Royals winning that game?
Yeah, that was big.
The Cole Reagans, by the way, their stud left-handed young fireballer goes today against Garrett Stone. So not overly surprised that the market likes KC in that game.
No, but I got to tell you, whatever it is, we've gotten a ton of baseball business where a lot of times this time of year, things really tend to slow down. That's one of the other things I think, a lot of, I think you look around the South Point, a lot of simple things we do right, and not just in sports, but, having the buffet, 3-2 on blackjack.
Free parking.
Free parking.
Yeah.
Well, by having the dime line in the baseball, we get a lot of dog business.
Nice.
And, we're like every other book in the world. We mostly need favorites. But we get plenty of dog money, and I think, the percentage at the end of the year isn't great, but we're in the dollar business, not the percentage business.
I do have one question before we let you go back to work.
I hope I can answer.
I hope so, too. Has any of that action that you said on Major League Baseball, which has been great for the majority of the year so far, College World Series begins today. Has that it bled over a little bit, or is it really more of a niche market?
Yeah, it's a niche market, but I'm kind of rooting for Celtics tonight. You know,
Okay,
let's just get it over with. But I think a lot of those dollars will go over to the College World Series. And you know, I've been using a dime on the hockey line too.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we had this much business yesterday on that. So, and that was a good result for us. Everybody was on Edmonton. So,
I imagine they would be. Yeah.
yeah,
Game 3 going back home.
we were up to. I think we were as high as $1.45 at
Yeah.
one point. You know?
Yeah.
By the way, that championship parlay you put out.
I heard you talking about.
I
it,
know. I just look.
Jeff, they all look easy now.
But here's the thing, though, Chris, as we've talked about on this show plenty of times, the leans hit at a 95% clip.
yeah, I know.
You know that.
Yeah,
The
I
ones you
know,
don't
yeah,
play,
of
they're
course, yeah.
automatic.
Of course, yeah. You know, I look back. I think that was the right price. You know,
No,
$1.50.
I thought you priced it perfectly.
I mean, we make a little bit of money
Sure.
on that result. Not much. You know, we make a little bit, but I think it was the right price. But you know, like I said, now you look at it. Oh God, how did I pass that up?
Well, and also too, just for just the fact of having that offered and
Yeah.
giving bettors another way to play these things is always a good thing for business.
We
most
tr-
part.
and we got a lot of. I'll tweet it out soon. We got a lot of props for tonight's game. We had a lot of hockey props yesterday. Didn't do a whole lot of business on it, but we had hockey props yesterday. So I think we'll do some pretty decent business tonight. It's a Friday night. You know, maybe the last NBA game for a couple months. I have a feeling it will be myself. But anybody, don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just bet whatever you like.
I just said I don't want it to be the last game, but I mean,
Jimmy told me the
WNBA
same
has
thing
been
last
very
night.
good. Did he?
I hope we're not looking at the last game. I
Yeah.
want more to sweat. I'm ready.
I think I'm in your camp, Chris. Especially with the way this series has
Yeah.
gone in the NBA. Like if it was one of those like that Boston Indiana series, even though it was a sweep, it was competitive. Those games
Yeah.
are fun.
Every game.
These games haven't been fun for the most part.
You know, game 2, I was kind of impressed. They lost by 7. Kyrie did nothing.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you could take that as a good sign. You know, he shows up last night, and Luka. I think Luka's getting a little bit too much of the blame here. You know,
Yeah.
when you're the guy, and everything falls on you. When things go wrong, guess what? It's your fault because everything falls on you. You know, so.
Well, and it's just like that with hockey. Everybody's like, Connor McDavid has 0 goals in this series.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he is doing all the passing and the puck
Right.
movement and trying to create something.
Kind of
So,
disappointed Draisaitl. He hasn't done
Yes.
much, you know.
Yes.
But you know, they say, you know, and I don't pretend to be a hockey expert, but during the playoffs, that third and fourth line has to come through for
Yep.
you know, and I don't see that with Edmonton.
Florida's played a tremendous series. I know that game 1, you could argue Edmonton was the better side.
I
even
would
though
agree,
Florida
yeah.
won 3-0 in that game. But this just has been an incredible march by Florida all the way through, and you just mentioned it perfectly. Their depth
Yep.
has
Yeah.
shown up at every single turn in this postseason, and especially in this series. And hey, the state of Florida, Chris, by the way,
Yeah.
the state of Florida, since the Stanley Cup was last in the country of Canada with a victor, well, if the Panthers finish this off, that state will have 4 cups since then because Tampa won 3 times.
Tampa won 3, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, somewhere in my brain, I thought Florida had won one.
They had only been to one before last year.
Yeah.
They'd only been in one final.
Yeah,
when
I had that in my
they
brain.
just came in. They lost to Colorado in that series.
I think
I'm
they
pretty
lost to
sure.
Colorado.
Yeah, got swept
Yeah.
early goings of
By
that
the way,
franchise.
and I heard you guys give credit to him earlier in the show, Lou Finocchiaro.
All over it.
I mean, Lou had the depth. I mean,
Oh,
the depth
yes.
is, I think that's the key to Florida's win here. And I think Lou kind of nailed that. You know, like you said, Jeff, I think he did it in January.
It was before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it had to have either been, I don't remember exactly if it was the first week of February or the
Yeah.
last week of January, but it was definitely before the Super
So
Bowl.
kudos to Lou. By the way, Lou's a pretty good College World Series
He's
guy.
pretty
too.
good at that too.
Yeah.
So,
So.
Chris, it's always
Okay.
Play-
Kaluch coming on.
Kaluch is coming on.
I don't want
in
to
a
step
few-
on Kaluch's time.
in a few minutes. For sure, Chris, pleasure as always.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a good show.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Before we get to Kaluch, actually, Sean, we can put this up from our friend Vegas Matty. Of course, the show on Friday, as always, brought to you by footballcontest.com. Vegas Matty with a quick update again. Super contest not up yet. Not those entries will be taken starting next month. Those are the entries that are in right now in the Circa Million and the Circa Survivor, which is now the biggest contest in the history of Vegas contests. Look at that overlay still. It's already 556 entries as well in the Survivor, 223 in the million, Alex. Overlay of over $9 million, but that's also because they're giving away just an outrageous amount of money for the winners or winner. Imagine if you're the lone survivor and take that whole prize pot, doubled 8-figure worth this year, Alex.
I'll be in the contest. I'll be trying to be the only winner there. But that's a great segue too, Jeff, because next week we begin our football previews.
Look at you.
Which I'm
Perfect.
very
We are
excited
looking
about.
forward to that. Starting on Tuesday with the Dallas Cowboys. No better place to start than with the Cowboys. That's going to be a staple the next 9 weeks here on the show with our NFL previews coming through.
Dallas fans hoping they'll have more success on the football field than this. It's been pretty devastating for them, this playoffs.
Well,
The Stars should be there. They would be a better series.
as
right
I somewhat jokingly texted you last night, this is all on Dallas that we've had these mediocre finals. Mavs haven't shown up to the ability we would have hoped, and it is just watching this series because Dallas played close enough to the style Florida plays.
Yes.
The fact that Edmonton beat Dallas is rather shocking, in all honesty. I know Skinner played great in that series, but that's a series if you're Dallas. Pretty bad that you ended up losing that in the end. Don't worry. We have Alex's WNBA picks for today. We have some Euro 2024 picks coming later as well, but we'll take a quick break. When we get back, we head to Summerlin at the Rampart. Our friend, getting ready for us, Dwayne Colucci, joins us momentarily here on Sports by the Book.
Have you always wanted to enter the biggest and best football contest in Las Vegas, but didn't know where to start and who to trust? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed, including breakdowns of the most popular and highest paying football contests in the world, such as the Westgate Super Contest, Circus Sports Million, and Circus Survivor. Plus, find out how you can reserve the most trusted proxy in the business right now at footballcontest.com, as Maddie and Tony have been leading the way for over a decade with more than $10 million in winners during that time frame. All you need to do is find a way to get to Vegas sometime this summer and sign up for these football contests in person. Then let Maddie and Tony do the rest. They will submit your picks for you and help you focus on doing what you do best, picking winners. Don't miss out on the action this upcoming football season. Experience matters. So go with the pros at footballcontest.com. That's footballcontest.com.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White. Big thanks for Chris Andrews. Always love when Chris pops in. And it's and I truly mean this. When I see the sticky note,
Yes.
I know we're getting good stuff.
And
Always.
4 dogs that people are betting on for baseball.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by the Royals. The other ones, Red Sox, I got to tell you, a little shocked by that one. I know people are waiting for the opportunity to fade heel at some point. I don't know. Boston's the team to do it with. Now joining us, though, we go to the Rampart up in Summerlin. Our good friend, the race and sportsbook director, Dwayne Colucci, joins us right now. Dwayne, it's a pleasure. How you doing this morning?
Doing well, Jeff. Doing well as always. Getting ready to count the Panther money.
I can't really blame you on that. And you know what? We'll get to them in a second. I want to start with the NBA though, because this has been one of those years where Boston wins tonight. They complete the playoffs at 16-2. They end up winning 80 games between the regular season and the postseason. Any which way you look at this and say, oh, this is an all-time great team when you win 80 games and go this dominantly through the postseason. It hasn't had that feel, but at least in this series, Dwayne, it has started, at least for me, it has felt that way because anytime Dallas has felt like all right, get back in the game, Boston just sucks the life out of them right away.
Yeah, they're so well coached, Jeff. That's the whole key. And, when you have great players like Brown and Tatum and, Porzingis came back into the mix, this is definitely a complete team. And it goes deeper than that. Holiday was just a fabulous acquisition. People were questioning that in the offseason. But, when you have a proven champion and you're going to bring him in to basically facilitate, play defense, help out, Brown and Tatum, this definitely is a complete team. And, I heard you guys talking about the parity of the city of Dallas. And, I live it with the Cowboys. But, maybe Denver would have put up a better fight. Maybe Minnesota. It's just how the playoffs transpire and how they play out isn't always how we handicap, even from the bookmakers side of the counter. So, definitely we may have wanted to see other teams in there, but Boston has been proven 80 victories, like you said, Jeff, just running the table. They caught a banged up Pacers team. Don't get me wrong, but if the Knicks would have won, they would have caught a banged up Knicks team. So, that's how the playoffs play out. The West side, we didn't really think Dallas was going to come out with all these fabulous young teams, whether it was OKC, Minnesota, or the juggernaut Nuggets. But yet, Luka played great at certain points of the playoffs, as did Kyrie. They had some good complementary play as well, Jeff. But, this is looking like, bookmakers never want to see two sweeps, 4 straights in the playoffs, but both the NBA and the NHL are lining up just because of the mismatches and the perceived matchups and the perceived mismatches that the two Dallas teams are, Dallas didn't make it in the NHL playoffs where they would have been the better matchup, and now Dallas is not really matching up with the Celtics well in the NBA. So, there's still some basketball and hockey to be played, but we'll see.
Coolidge, 3 under so far in this series. Now we have the lowest total at 211.5. Not a lot of movement there. Are you getting two-way action, or are people kind of staying away from the total?
Yeah, not much movement, Alex, because we adjusted it correctly. It was 214.5, a couple of games back, and now we brought it down 3 points. You're seeing a little tighter defense. You're also seeing, how Holiday could really lock down on Kyrie, and that's definitely taking away from the total. And, Luka being banged up as well. He's still doing his thing. He's a monstrous scorer. But now the Celtics have realized, bring the ball up, pass it around. Let's play a little. Let them try and stop us defensively. Use a little more of the play clock as well as the time in the game, and that's why we have made the adjustments, and we're seeing some good two-way action. Naturally, Alex, you're going to see the parlays, parlaying the total with the game, but nothing significant, and we are sitting at pick in the game itself. Dallas is at home, but Celtics are definitely looking to close it out. Maybe Dallas could sneak one in. Boston would love to win at home, I know that, but that doesn't really come into play in the mindset when you're at this professional level, and Missoula is definitely going to have them playing at their top.
Dwayne, going over to the hockey, and where just you started off with, this has been, I know there's some argument, game 1, Edmonton may have had the better to play, but they still lost the game 3-0, get torched in game 2. And then second period yesterday for Florida was as dominant as it gets. They just completely destroyed the Oilers en route to a win 4-3. Here they are, 1 win away here, Dwayne. And I just want to bring this up with Florida, where we saw them lose in a cup final a year ago. Now here they are with a chance to win this thing in a sweep over a highly talented team. I know Edmonton has their flaws, but still highly talented. This has been an unbelievably impressive run in the Florida team that, Dwayne, you could have had some nice numbers on throughout the regular season.
Yeah, definitely. They played very well, Jeff, and especially down the stretch and in the playoffs. And the measuring stick was definitely the New York Rangers. The Rangers had a fabulous regular season. They were rolling in the playoffs. And when you saw Florida just lock them down, and I say it time and time again, as talented as Edmonton is, the Rangers have way more talent, in my opinion. They are multiple lines deep. They have the best goaltender in the game. And yet Florida was still able to shut them down, shut down Panarin, who had an amazing regular season. Zibanejad was basically non-existent, and he scored a ton of power play goals. Kreider, he was here and there, but, definitely just shutting down that New York Ranger team. And then last night, Barkov coming to play and just with a chip on his shoulder. You really don't want to wake up a sleeping bear, but he really wasn't sleeping. I mean, these guys are dominating all facets of the game. So, Edmonton tried to play a little rough. They scored some goals. I can't believe they're there. I say it time and time again. I just can't believe that they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals with that roster, that goaltending, and that defensive core. A credit to the coaching staff, a credit to Connor McDavid. But now they're being exposed. I definitely have to, if I was Dallas, I would microscope Peter DeBoer's performance down the stretch, because them not being in the finals and you're the ownership of that team, you definitely have to look and say, hey, wait a minute. We had the better goaltender, better team, and yet we're not there. The mix matching of lines in those games, those late games in that series, you definitely look at the coaching staff if you're looking at a team like Dallas. But on the other hand, you give credit to the Edmonton coaching staff because they were able to overcome all these rounds and make it to the finals. But Florida is definitely the better team. You're seeing Bobrovsky play lights out. It doesn't matter who it is, Barkov, Bennett, Verhaeghe. These guys are going to put the puck in the net. And even in Edmonton, you have all that rah-rah. And, you guys had asked me the question, I believe, a week ago about, if Canada cares and they're going to rally behind Edmonton. And it's funny, I saw Bruce Boudreau, who's a former NHL coach, he was asked that question, and the answer is absolutely not. Teams in Montreal, Toronto, they are just so passionate about their own team. They could care less if Edmonton brings a Stanley Cup. They want their team to be the first team. So, all that rallying around, in the city of Edmonton, yes, there's going to be 50,000 people outside the arena, as well as, full capacity, 20,000 in the arena. But outside of that, there's not much support. And now Florida is just taking control of this series, and there's no Vegas Golden Knights this year, guys.
Dwayne, you're telling me that the folks at Calgary don't want to see Edmonton win the cup? You're telling me that?
I don't think anybody in Canada wants to see Edmonton win the cup. And now they're realizing they're not going to win the cup unless there's a miracle, and maybe Wayne Gretzky will suit up and Yari Curry, and you could get a second and third line going there.
I do have to ask you, though, when you were in studio co-hosting with me, you asked Sammy P, you said, what do the Oilers have to do to turn the series around against the Stars? Now I want to ask you, what do the Oilers have to do to turn this series around against Florida? Or is it done and there's nothing they can really do?
Like I said, Alex, they need Messier and Gretzky to suit up. I see the picture with Brian Leetch, Wayne Gretzky, and Mark Messier on the golf course the other day. And Messier looks like he could still play. He looked so much bigger and in strength over those two players who are both Hall of Famers. So to turn it around, Alex, they really need some great goaltending play from Stuart Skinner. He's actually going to have to pitch a shutout for Edmonton to get back in this series and establish that maybe we could shut Florida down. But, even if you win the next game, then you have that 3,000-mile travel. You got to go back to Florida, then back and forth. It's going to be very difficult for Edmonton. McDavid has to score multiple goals. Draisaitl has to complement him. The defense has to play well. And definitely they need strong goaltending from Stuart Skinner. This is how they could get back into the series and possibly pull a couple of games out. And if Bobrovsky has a bad game, which, he does have a tendency to once in a while have a bad game. But in this series, going into last night, he had a .980 save percentage, and Skinner was under 9. So, when you have that much of a difference and you have such a great goaltender and a great team core and a team that's been there, and let's put it on the table, Alex, Tkachuk has been non-existent. And he's one of their top players, yet they're still dominating this series. He just does the little intangibles, gets under your skin. Edmonton is going to have to overcome that. They have to score early. Get out there to a big lead, 2-3 goal lead, and then just fall back, and maybe you could win a game or two.
Dwayne, we usually talk about this time of the year being the time of the year where things slow down. It's not the case, at least, especially for this week. Obviously, we're still concluding the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. Baseball's been a heavy bet sport. Chris was just in here going through 4 different games that have been bet pretty significantly to underdogs today. The College World Series gets going today in Omaha, and basically the every other year big soccer event. Either you get the World Cup or you get Euros, which is what starts here tonight in Germany. And again, 24-team field over there with a lot of familiar teams that people, even casual bettors, will say, oh, I want to go bet on France today. Oh, I'll bet the Italians here today. You usually see this time of the year slow down. This is not a slow time of the year at the moment, Dwayne.
No, and you got the U.S. Open going on.
Of course,
too, Jeff. So,
absolutely.
you got a ton of action going on this week, and the U.S. Open is always a major attraction, especially out here in Summerlin. You have so many golf enthusiasts, and that's definitely, we had some great handle on that. Chris has the jackpot cards available too. $25,000 for the opening week of football. It never ends here at the Rampart in South Point. Like you said, Chris has been taking immense action at the South Point and the Rampart on baseball. Very difficult for us to win at times with the Yankees streaking out the way they've been streaking. Philly, Dodgers, there's so many teams that are on nemesis currently. And then you expand it with the soccer menu as well as the College World Series. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of action. Don't forget Caitlin Clark either. She's brought a lot of action, to my side of the counter and making the WNBA now a prominent sport where people are handicapping, whether it's Caitlin, Angel Reese, all these different girls. The Aces aren't playing as well as they have in the last 2 years. So we have so many different sports going on right now. But like you said, the baseball is the focal point until the NBA and the NHL end. And with the 3-0 deficits, the action then gets reined in because people don't know what to think of it. So that also will take a hit on the handle, but we make up for it with the other sporting events, like you just said, Jeff.
Colucci, what will you be watching this weekend? Are you a big golf enthusiast?
I don't mind it, Alex. I'll be honest with you, but I'll be watching probably Aqueduct, Churchill Downs, and Santa Anita. Okay. I'm a massive horse player, and this is closing weekend at Santa Anita, so it's your last chance. Los Al comes in, and then you ride into Del Mar. So I'll definitely be watching the horses, but I will watch that closing round, the third and fourth round of the U.S. Open, as well as my Dodgers. I'll be watching, hoping that they could continue to play well. I mean, they showed signs that we're able to compete with the best when we beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 in the stadium. So that definitely was important, I think, for the Dodgers as a measuring stick, and to see if those pitchers could finally start to come around. I think the Yankees are playing a little over their head, Alex, right now. The pitching has been so fabulous. It's got to be reined in, but it's a matter of time before Cole comes back too. So I'll be watching baseball, horse racing, a little U.S. Open, and if the hockey and NBA keep going.
Well, we're within a few weeks of, Dwayne, basically everyone in management and sports books across Vegas being a Del Mar. So we're very we're very close to that. Hey, look, if you haven't done a few days at Del Mar in the summer and you've lived in Vegas for a while, what are we doing here? In all honesty, I mean, you got to at least spend a few days in one of the prettiest spots there is to watch horse racing here in the country. He's Dwayne Colucci.
I have my reservation.
I know you do. Trust me. I didn't have to ask. I already knew. It's just a matter of, hey, what week is it? More so than anything. Dwayne Colucci, everyone, up at the Rampart. Racing Sportsbook Director, NYBookie Dwayne on the tweets. Dwayne, pleasure as always. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate you guys having me on. And say hi to Mr. Andrews. I got to stop by next week and bust his chops a little bit.
Absolutely. Dwayne Colucci.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Everyone, I always love catching up with our guy, DC. All right, we'll take one last break. When we get back, Alex is WNBA. I have soccer. What a combination that is. And we'll go through everything that we are going to play here on a pretty loaded Friday, all things considered, here on Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Have you always wanted to enter the biggest and best football contest in Las Vegas, but didn't know where to start and who to trust? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed, including breakdowns of the most popular and highest paying football contests in the world, such as the Westgate Super Contest, Circa Sports Million, and Circa Survivor. Plus, find out how you can reserve the most trusted proxy in the business right now at footballcontest.com, as Maddie and Tony have been leading the way for over a decade with more than $10 million in winners during that time frame. All you need to do is find a way to get to Vegas sometime this summer and sign up for these football contests in person. Then let Maddie and Tony do the rest. They will submit your picks for you and help you focus on doing what you do best, picking winners. Don't miss out on the action this upcoming football season. Experience matters. So go with the pros at footballcontest.com. That's footballcontest.com.
Final few minutes for us here on Sports by the Book. Jeff Parles, Alex White. Big thanks to Dwayne Colucci, as always, for hopping on. Big thanks to Chris Andrews. We'll see Chris Andrews tomorrow on the show as well.
Yes.
And also, we'll have to check in with Ryan McCormick in about 10 minutes from now as well, because you'll be on Punchlines this afternoon.
I will. Looking forward to
At
that.
high noon, I should say. We'll get to check in with Ryan in about 10 minutes from now.
I will just say with Dwayne Colucci, my favorite thing is he is very consistent, and those teams that do not play good defense drive him crazy. And it has been fun all year to hear him talk about the Oilers, who really did not play defense up until the playoffs, and then credit to them to get to this spot that they turned things around. But so he's very consistent with that. Got to still play good defense.
You know, Lou was on it too. The Lou's credit.
Yeah.
That was part of the reason he didn't like Edmonton pre-tournament. Look, and he was all over Florida. We're going to keep mentioning that until probably next hockey season. How Lou was all over that with Florida early on here in the season. To the W. Tomorrow is the big time slate.
Yes, it is.
Tomorrow's the big time slate. We'll have previews of both of those games on the show tomorrow, including the one just a little north of us where it's a WNBA final and Commissioner Cup final from a year ago rematch between Vegas and New York. The Aces finally won a game last night. They didn't cover, though, last night against the Mercury.
I was going to ask you, I know you wanted to be on the Aces.
I need to see the number. That's all it comes down to.
Okay.
I need to see the number. There's a number in my head where I'm comfortable, but I need to see the number before I even proclaim what I'm going to do exactly there.
I would like to bring up that Jackie Young, her all-time quarter, and then Asia Wilson, now tied at 15th for all-time blocks in league history. The crazy part is she has 372 blocks. She has done this in 200 games. Who she just tied, Tina Thompson, did that in 496. So the average of the 15 in front of her, average played 388 games, median 401. But there's somebody else on this list that doesn't get talked about enough, and that is Brittany Griner, who is third on this block list with 769. She did that in 287 games, Jeff. I don't think Asia Wilson's going to catch her in the next 87 games. What do you think?
Probably not. I don't think so.
Very impressive.
66 combined points by Wilson and Young last night. And also kind of just showing Aces scored 103 and beat the Mercury by 4. And only 6 players scored. So
that was almost a higher scoring game than we have seen between the Mavs and the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, well.
It was a good game.
Yeah, quality in that game last night in the WNBA was better than what we've seen from Dallas so far in this series. To put it in very, very casual terms, more so than anything. All right, 2 games tonight. Not a lot on the card that interests you, but there is one angle that you're looking at. Just throwing all the lines out there real quick for everybody. Minnesota's 13-point favorites against Los Angeles. Lynx, by the way, clinched that Commissioner Cup final berth. They'll go to the Liberty next month to play in that final. 13, 159.5. And then you mentioned this in the starting 5. Yeah, go ahead.
First for this one, though, I do think that is a good spot for the Sparks.
Take points?
Taking those points, it's a lot of points for them. I do have the number right there with Minnesota, but kind of a letdown spot for the Lynx, right? Clinching that spot for the Commissioner Cup might be a little overconfident come in this one, not play to their best of their ability. I also like the total going under this. I think 159.5 is way too high for these two. Minnesota's the second slowest pace in the league and also the second best defense. Sparks can hang in there. They're the third best rebounding team right now in the league, and they've got the height and the physicality. So lean to the Sparks if you like the points there, but I'm playing this under that total.
Then the one you mentioned in the starting 5, you were a little surprised that Chicago was favored in this game. 2.5, 159 behind us. That's market high. A lot of 158.5, some 158 even still in the market here with this. The Mystics finally won a game. So they're on the board here in the 2024 season. But again, 2 teams that Mystics are not going to the postseason unless if they get really hot. In the Sky, I mean, look, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. The race for the 8 seed, someone with a record that's not particularly good is going to get that 8 seed. And the Sky are definitely in the mix for that.
They definitely are. But you're right. I mean, Washington got their first win, got that out of the way. Now they are back at home hosting. I mean, this game, I made it a pick. I think that is just a little bit of an overreaction here with Chicago. So definitely going to take the points, and I'm going to sprinkle a little on the money line because I think Washington has a shot to win this. Sky they've been good. They're 1-4 against the spread, though, in their last 5 games. And Washington, on the other side, has been very competitive. And you've talked about that. They've been losing games, but they've been competitive. They've been covering the spread. They've covered in 3 straight, winning their last one straight up against Atlanta.
Tomorrow, I will have, again, Caitlin Clark's in action tomorrow. That huge matchup just down the road from us with the Liberty and the Aces at noon. Early tip. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
The noon local time tip on national TV on ABC for that one tomorrow. All right. Real quick here. We have our handy-dandy sheets. The Sports by the Book podcast page has a preview. Myself, Tom Viola, did that earlier in the week. If you haven't listened, you still got a few hours before we get rolling in Germany. That's where you'll find the group play that we like the best. We like 1-2-1 shot to win their group. A pretty predominant country. That's all we'll say on that. But be sure to listen to that podcast to check that out. But I will look at these games. So the way that these are going to break down here, Alex, the schedules. The games will be played at 6 in the morning on the West here in the Pacific time zone, 9 in the morning, and noon. So, of course, because we're on at 9 a.m., we got to look at those 6 and 9 games here today. The nooners
Correct.
we can talk about on the show tomorrow, which tomorrow the nooner is Albania and Italy. Albania making their first appearance in a major tournament. Now, when the first one today, real quick, I don't have a play on it, but we'll just bring up the numbers. Germany, host of this tournament, will host Scotland, Group A action. Germany, behind us, Chris and company have goal line and total, 2.5 juiced over, -145 on the total. Germany laying a goal and a half, -115 on that for the Germans here today. So nothing on that. I thought all those numbers were good. Germany was about a $4 favorite in the 3-way lines. So I wouldn't touch that either. I don't think anything's worth it on the draw. $4 -383. That's what I'm seeing out there. Switzerland is a plus 125 favorite tomorrow morning. I like that against Hungary. That's the best line out there right now, plus 125 behind us, laying a goal and a half, which is the exact same as the 3-way line price for a lot of shops. I like the Swiss in that one. And then the 9 a.m. game, group of death is Group B, Alex.
Okay.
Unbelievably difficult group. Spain, Italy, Croatia, and Albania. A lot of firepower in that group. Spain is a -110 favorite on the 3-way line and in the -half goal tomorrow here at the South Point. But I would lean strongly to the under at 2.5 on that one. You lay $1.40, that's not bad. I would lean to the under in that game.
Very closely matched, these two. That's why you like that under?
Well, it's just more that, so Tom Viola actually brought this up a little bit on the podcast, where Spain, as talented as they are, they have problems scoring. They don't really have that put-away goal scorer that a lot of these elite teams in Europe have. France has like 4 of them, in all honesty. England has multiple guys. But Spain, other than Morata, who is their short shot to have the most goals in this tournament, 30-1 on that, they do struggle to score. So there is some question on that. Croatia, this is a group that's very old, the oldest team in this tournament, but they've had incredible success with this group. They've made it out of the group stage multiple times in the World Cup. They, of course, made a World Cup final against France that they lost in 2018. It just, they're all in their mid to late 30s. A lot of them are in their mid to late 30s right now. So there's an older team. Probably want to shorten the game, make this a little bit of a lower scoring affair to at least get a point on a draw out of this, which would help you advance to the groups out of the group stage. So I would lean to the under in that game, and then we'll have a play on Italy and Albania tomorrow because that game will be at noon, and I want to see how the market plays itself out.
Very good. And make sure you check out the podcast to
Yes.
get the full breakdown.
Sports by the Book podcast page wherever you get your podcasts today, and also make sure you subscribe to all of our things on podcasts as well. We have the specials page, which be on the lookout. Well, if you want Barry Phillips' thoughts on the U.S. Open that's already underway, you can see if there's anything in-game wise as well. Race Day Las Vegas, of course, available on the YouTube page tomorrow. As always, Gone Racing, Brendan Gone and Jeff Motley previewed Iowa this week as well. Punchlines, which we'll find out what's on Punchlines today from our guy Ryan McCormick right now.
Yeah.
How you doing this morning?
Doing great.
I didn't put my foot in my mouth this morning.
Yeah,
yet.
great.
At least yet.
Great show today. So today on Punchlines, we've got Alex White as our guest. So we're going to be giving out our Friday staple of a parlay. So Alex is going to have a pick. Frank's going to have a pick. I'll have a pick. Maybe looking at some games over the weekend. We'll talk some WNBA basketball. You guys had just mentioned Asia Wilson and Jackie Young last night. We'll talk some championship rings, whether it be the Celtics, Panthers, or the Chiefs getting theirs last night. So tune in at noon. Punchlines with Frank Nicotero.
Those rings are pretty amazing.
Except for the error that they have.
I know.
Oh.
That's part of the reason I said they're amazing, Ryan, because they look great. But there's one thing on there that I know will bring up.
Yep.
That was like, how did that happen?
Yeah. How do you let that
How
slide?
did that happen? But you'll have to wait till Punchlines at
I
noon.
guess I will too. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun on that. And by the way, Ryan, next week when I'm with you guys on Thursday,
Yeah.
I'm already scared of what Bob Zaney will say to me. I'm already scared. I get the Bob Zaney.
You do?
You avoid Bob Zaney next week. Bob Zaney's coming in next Thursday.
He's great.
One of
He's
the best
great.
insult comics out there.
Oh my
Period.
gosh.
Ready to bear the brunt of it. I'll be ready to go on that for sure. Also, by the way, Ryan, will Frank have any comments on the Mets going 2-0 with since Grimace threw out the first pitch?
You'll just have to tune in at noon to find out.
You might have to tune in. You're going to have to tune in.
Yeah.
At noon for sure. All right. Well, Alex, pleasure. It's fun as always. Tomorrow we're back at it. Chris will join us. I'm really excited to preview that Aces Liberty game tomorrow.
Yes.
Because see if the Aces, if last night was just, hey, an epic game from two of their best players, or if, hey, the corner is getting turned again back into what we expect out of Las Vegas. We'll also have updates on the U.S. Open as well. We'll have a better sense of in-game betting as well because the leaders won't go off till later in the day tomorrow. So we hope we have at least one in-game play on the U.S. Open.
By tomorrow, we should officially. We've been teasing that for 2 days. Tomorrow,
I would be I would make us if we don't have it tomorrow, we're not going to have one.
correct.
So I would make it about I don't know minus 400 that we have an in-game play tomorrow on the U.S. Open between the two of us. One.
Yes, we can go with that.
Yeah.
And thank you for everybody who is watching us at Oasis or Steiner's or in Fuego, and thank you for showing our shows there.
Tom's Pizzeria as well, of course,
Yes.
Stratford, Pennsylvania, and also big thanks to Caden and Sean, and of course Ryan. You already saw here on getting us ready to go as always here on the show. We'll see you again tomorrow. Sports by the Book, 9 a.m. South Point Studio.